In our short profile of Dan and Nancy Evans in the November issue, which you'll see on the way out, there's a quote from the governor that I especially like. He says, "If you don't take part in your community in a purely voluntary way, I think you're just missing out." That is the essence, really, of these Community Impact Awards, and we couldn't be more pleased to bestow our Lifetime Achievement Award this year on two people who embody the idea of what Nancy Bell Evans summarizes rather succinctly as, and you've heard this before, people helping people. The Evanses are shining examples of people helping people, from Dan's 3 terms as governor and 1 term as a U.S. Senator, to Nancy's involvement with Friends of Cancer Lifeline, Planned Parenthood of Olympia, and many other charitable endeavors. They've served their community well and truly. Please welcome former Governor Dan Evans and former First Lady Nancy Bell Evans.
This is a great honor, and I'm truly pleased to receive it. When you get a Lifetime Achievement Award, you know you're getting old. The fact is that I am old, and I don't care. So thank you very much. I was thinking the other night about what my first effort was in the public service area. And I remembered that when I was in the 8th grade, I was 12 years old, and I was asked if I would participate in a project that would take me out of school, not out of school, after school. And it was be about a month of extra work, and I didn't want to do it. I was nervous, I was afraid. I didn't know if I could do a good job. I grew up in Spokane. We lived on the south side. This was going to take place on the north side, and I had to take a bus, not just downtown, but across town to the north side. I didn't know if I could do that. I'd never been to an orphanage before. I didn't know Spokane had an orphanage. And I played the piano, and what they wanted me to do was to play the Christmas carols, which I could do. And they were going to have a concert just before Christmas, and they wanted me to do at the rehearsals and play at the concert. So somewhat reluctantly, and frankly more afraid than anything else, I took the bus, learned how to go on the north side, learned how to transfer to another bus, and did the rehearsals after school 3 times a week, and we had the concert. And I will tell you that when it was all over, I was so proud of myself because I had learned the bus, I had been to an orphanage, it wasn't scary. I enjoyed the whole process. And the moral of that is you're never too young to start helping your community. After listening to all these wonderful stories, these wonderful projects that you are all undertaking, I'm so proud and I'm so glad to learn about them tonight. I had no idea. I have been privileged, really privileged, to be involved with a great number of enterprises, with organizations, institutions throughout the years, and a wide variety of interests as well. So I just say to you all, please continue what you're doing. It's wonderful. And if you have any extra time, there's always individual things that you can do. Get involved with another board, another group of people or whatever. Sometimes it's frustrating. Sometimes it's hard. But in the end, you will be the beneficiaries as well as the people you help. Thank you very much.
You know, the list of companies who received awards tonight, or organizations who received awards tonight, is very interesting. When I came back from the military service and began to get interested in community activities, only 2 of the award winners tonight even existed. That's Foster Pepper and Recreational Equipment Incorporated, REI. All the rest are new, or newer. And I think that's the great strength of this community, is that we keep reinventing ourselves and we keep bringing new people and new enterprises and new ideas, and that is a great strength of any community. Tonight, I thought I would just tell you two stories, and they're both from the past, but I think they have some current, some ideas for the current situation we're in. In August of 1967, we were facing a very tense summer in Seattle and throughout the nation. It was a time of great protests, time of some violence in other cities, and great tension in Seattle. And I decided it was important to meet with citizens of our central area in Seattle. We announced that the governor would be at the East Madison YMCA the afternoon of August 2nd to meet with anyone who wished to talk with him. Well, when I arrived, there was a large crowd, and I was led to a small room with a table and half a dozen chairs where I was to meet citizens. And all afternoon, I listened to people with problems until the last group was announced. And the door opened, and 6 African-American teenagers marched in. I introduced myself, and then the tirade began. Several talked at once, but the message was clear. They hated conditions in their community, and they demanded a change. And finally, one young man pulled his chair around at the other end of the small table, faced me, pointed his finger at me like this, and said, "Governor, if I had a gun right now, I'd shoot you." I waited. The room turned deadly silent. I finally steadied my voice and said, "What good would that do?" He immediately replied, "One less honky to deal with." Well, that exchange was too much for the rest of the teenage group, and they realized they'd reached the end of the meeting. Before they left, I challenged them by stating, "You have spent your time telling me what's wrong with your community. I need to know what to do about it. And I'd like you to come to my office a week from now and bring some ideas that you think would help." They left, talking to themselves, and determined to travel to Olympia the next week. And frankly, I doubted that they would ever show up. But they made an appointment, and the week later showed up dressed in their best clothes and ready with a long list, not of requests, but of demands. The list was entitled "Concrete Proposals of the Grassroots Group." I was presented with that list, and we began what turned into more than an hour's discussion. There were 18 astonishingly pertinent items on that list, and these youngsters were prepared to argue them in depth. They spoke of education, asking that Afro-American history be included in the school curriculum, Central area teachers be given specialized training, and they proposed use of indigenous teachers' aides. Next, we debated job opportunities. They talked of civil service impediments, excessive testing requirements, and were most intense about lack of opportunity in labor union apprenticeship programs. But their number one issue, on which we spent much of the discussion, was a request for a centralized state office in Seattle's central area. They asked with considerable passion why a resident had to ride 2 bus rides to Queen Anne to get to the public assistance office, and then 2 bus rides in the other direction to Rainier Valley to get to the public health department. They asked, why can't all of the offices that serve our community be located in our community? I responded by saying, Your suggestion for a central office area is a great one, and I promise you that we will open such an office in your community in 30 days. A month later, the center opened. There was a central intake and the desks of representatives of many appropriate state agencies, and ultimately we even brought in city and federal agencies to boot. It was truly a people-oriented, multi-service center. A little later, we held a formal reception and invited a long list of public officials along with an open invitation to people of the community. The place was packed when I arrived, and as I circulated through the room, I was met by an elderly lady who approached me and proudly said, "Governor, how do you like our center?" I had a lump in my throat as big as a tennis ball. And when I responded, I said, "I think it's terrific," because she captured in one word what government should represent when she said our instead of yours or theirs. And it's amazing what you can accomplish when you listen. In fact, their idea of that central office ultimately turned into the development of the Department of Social and Health Services. They really were the inventors. Let me turn to a different story on a private enterprise rather than a governmental enterprise. I've been privileged to serve on the board of Costco for a number of years. And I have found during my service on that board, and I've served on the board of a number of different companies, this is absolutely one of the best because they capture what really is necessary for success in private as well as public enterprise. Many of the other companies that I've been associated with have long codes of ethics, and they go into great detail about what they should stand for. Costco's is short and simple and responsible for the extraordinary success of that organization. They say very simply, obey the law, take care of your members, take care of your employees, respect our suppliers. And if we do these four things throughout our organization, then we will achieve our ultimate goal, which is to reward our shareholders. They got it absolutely right in terms of what you do to produce real success, and they've been enormously successful as a result. Thank you for this recognition. Nancy and I have been privileged over a lifetime to be involved in the public enterprise of our community, our state, and occasionally even the nation. It's been fun, been rewarding, and we ain't done yet.